Welcome back, everybody, to the Nosebleeds podcast. I am Chris Witt. With me, as always, is Mr. Adam Schmidt. How are you today, sir?
I'm so good. So good. How are
So
you?
good. You got an elder win today that we got to see, and we've got one of the best friends of the podcast back after a long awaited no, I don't know. What's the word? Liaison? No.
No,
I don't know
I don't
words.
know, but shame on us. That's
I don't
all I
know
know.
words, but I can tell you this. This guy knows words because that's what he does for a living. Writer, producer,
Mhm.
Yep.
former beat writer, Mr. Adam,
Co-host,
co-host of the Sean Miller podcast, writer and producer on the All In um,
docuseries.
docu-series.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh, Mr. Adam Baum. Adam, how are you, brother?
I'm so good, guys. Let me just say that it was worth the wait, to get back here with you guys and to be on this show again. It was a long little hiatus that we took, but it
That's
feels
the
right.
word.
It feels right to be back.
That's right. I love it.
You guys still there? You guys hear me?
Well, huge news. Zach Freemantle out indefinitely after taking a hard fall in the crosstown shootout. Jumped back up, grimaced with a thumbs up, kept on playing. I'm sure it's quite a bit of adrenaline. What you're there every day, Adam. What do we got going on, bub?
Yeah, I mean this one was a weird one, right? Because like I saw what you guys saw. I saw him finish the game, and I think a lot of it had to do with that adrenaline that you spoke about, right? But I think with him trying to navigate this, and right now, I think the tricky thing is that like they're still waiting for swelling to go down. Sean actually talked about this on his radio show last night that they don't really know the full extent of what's going on until they can actually get clear imaging um, of his leg because it's still so swollen. So,
Not good.
I mean, obviously the word indefinitely is not good, but
No.
from hearing Sean and listening to his radio show last night, it sounds like it's not a foregone conclusion that he's completely done this year. So right now, I think, and I know this is something you guys want to talk about, but right now it's going to be about how do you kind of survive without Zach because he was so important to everything that this team does, and they have to really change their style at both ends of the floor because they don't have Zach Freemantle anymore.
How much bigger? I mean, he's already very big, but how much bigger of a role is John Hughley going to have to play, or does a lot more of it go back on Hunter? Because Hunter, I mean, he's ramping his minutes up more and more, but he's still not playing what I feel could be his fullest potential of minutes. Where are we looking at to try to find something to give us something of what Fremantle can do?
Really, it's going to come down to three guys, and you mentioned two of them. Like John Hughley, right now, he's been kind of hanging around that 10-minute per game mark. He's going to play more. Jerome Hunter is now going to start at the five for this team. Um,
Wow.
yeah, so
Wow.
they're gonna play a lot of small ball, and then the third guy is Cam Fletcher, who you've really only gotten to see him once this year, and it was in that blowout against Morgan State. But
Exactly. He played great.
what, yeah, he did. And what I can tell you about Cam Fletcher is he's their best athlete on their team. He's coming off back-to-back ACL injuries, and the thing that he does better than anything else is rebound. So it's really going to be on those three guys. And then, they're playing some crazy lineups right now in practice where you actually have like Marcus Foster at the five. So they have a small ball lineup, which is Jerome at the five. And then I would say they have an extreme small ball lineup with Marcus Foster at the five. And this is like this is what I love about college basketball. It sucks that Zach got hurt. Injuries are a terrible part of the game, obviously. But now you're going to see a team that completely has to adapt to its environment and say, you know what, the things that we were doing with Zach, we can no longer do those things that way. And now we have to completely kind of retool and revamp our process. And that's where Xavier finds itself. It's unfortunate that they have to do it at all. It's really unfortunate that they have to do it at this particular point in the schedule, which my co-host on the Sean Miller podcast told me is the first time in the last, it's the toughest 3-game stretch in terms of overall Ken Palm ranking in 15 years for Xavier. So it was UC, UConn, and Marquette. And in the middle of that, you lose your leading scorer and your leading rebounder.
And the heart of your team.
Yeah.
This is the guy who's the first. If you watch the All In series, I mean, he's the first one there. He's the last one to leave kind of guy. He's one of the hardest workers out there. This is what he does. This is what he wants. This is it. It's basketball now. He's 24 years old. Like this is it. God, I feel for that kid so much.
He's old enough to be some of those guys' grandfathers. But that's, and then of course, Lucina Traore going out before the season even started. That's an even bigger deal.
That's the thing. That's what kills it, because you got Basile, who's this monster of a man, and he goes down, and you're like, we're good. We still got Fremantle. We still got Hughley, and Hunter can play some 4 here and there. And now this happens, and you've got Hunter at the 5 to start. I mean, Hughley's a big boy, and if he's lost a lot of weight. He's you watch this docuseries is unbelievable. If you watch the All In series, he's working his tail off, to get better and to be the best he can be. But I'm going to tell you, watching him play, he needs breaks. He needs
Yeah, he does.
He's very good, and he can take some physical hits. But as soon as he starts getting tired, you can see his finish. He can't finish very well at all after he's been in the game for 2, 3, 4 minutes. He's got to come out because they attack him so hard and beat on him. He just can't. To me, that's what it seems like.
Yeah, you're right. And I think the thing with Hughley that we tried to emphasize in the docuseries was like everyone else, when they arrived at Xavier, they hit the ground running. And John, he hit the ground running, but he hit the ground running to lose weight. He didn't hit the ground running playing basketball, learning their system, learning how to play with the other guys on the team. He got there, and all it was about was, hey, we need to get him down to a manageable weight just so that he can play the way we want him to play. And that took, darn near 4 months. So that's 4 months where he's behind everyone else in terms of learning the system, learning how to play with Ryan Conwell and Davion McKnight and Jerome Hunter and all these guys. And, once you get into the season and games are real, that's not necessarily a recipe to catch up to everyone else. That's like almost a survival situation. So John Hughley knows that more is going to be asked of him. And really, you could make the argument that how the next month or two goes, a lot of it is going to ride and depend on whether or not John Hughley can give you 20 good minutes a game, because that's really what it might come down to.
Yeah. Him, and I'll be 100% honest with you. If Dalen Swain can take that next step that we all think he has of being, I feel like he doesn't take the ball to the basket enough. And when he does, he finishes strong. He's getting better at finishing strong. He's put weight on. He's going to have to play a little out of his comfort zone as well, just because he's, 6'8", 6'9", 6. I don't even know what he is now. I feel like he grew 8 inches since he's got here last year.
Yeah, he's 6'8", but you're absolutely right. Like, Dalen Swain now has to be a guy where you can't look at a box score after a game and be like, oh, Dalen had 2 points and 4 rebounds. That's no longer going to cut it for this team. Dalen's got to be a guy that's, as crazy as it sounds, he's got to be a double-digit scorer, and he's got to be a dude that pulls down 7 or 8 rebounds a game. There's just no way around it, because if not, like the void that Zach Fremantle left in production, there aren't that many avenues where you can make that up, right? One of them is Dalen Swain. The other one is Marcus Foster. and then Jerome Hunter and John Hughley. And you kind of have to piece it together. They don't have one guy who can replace what Zach did.
Absolutely not.
They have to do it by committee.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's the other thing I wanted to ask. So obviously, yes, they're gonna probably play around with some smaller lineups, like you said. Does that mean also that Ryan Conwell and Davion McKnight are shooting 10 threes a game each now? I mean, are they gonna shoot threes more often now? Because I mean, you probably don't throw the ball into to Hughley and Hunter as much as you would Freeman. Would you say? I mean,
Absolutely. Yeah.
are they gonna have to either rely more on the three or do something else strategy wise?
I feel like they can still get points in the paint effectively from Swain just from the amount of times he chooses not to take it. And he's going to have to take it. The points are going to come in the paint. They're going to have to come differently. So maybe it's 4 more points from Hughley and 7 more points from Swain. So I don't know that it has to come from the three, but I think it has to come differently from other players. You tell me. I'm talking spitballing. Tell me what you think, Adam.
No, I mean, you're not that far off, right? I don't necessarily know that the solution to all of their problems is going to be, just chuck up more threes. I think they are going to shoot more of them, just out of necessity. But I think it's going to be like, hey, we need to execute better. We need to take better care of the ball. And we need to continue to work for the best shot for Xavier. And I have a feeling that the best shot for Xavier most of the time is going to be Marcus Foster, Ryan Conwell, or Davion McKnight 3-pointer.
So in the All-In series, Maddox and it's Foster and is it Foster and Trey Green that are constantly going at it, or was it Maddox and Green?
Maddox and Trey Green.
It was
Yeah.
Maddox. So Maddox, to me, that's the one that I'd like to see. He's got to step up. He just seems like an invisible piece on this team to me a lot of times, that he just gets lost on the court and he's just the 5th guy running around. I feel like that, talking about how good of a 3-point shooter he is, we need to start seeing it.
Yeah.
And that, yeah. Go ahead.
Well, if you've listened to Sean's post-game press conferences at all this year, there have been a few of them that have been specifically targeted to Dante Maddox, because if you came to a Xavier practice, you would see a completely different version of Dante Maddox, which is frustrating for a lot of people because they listen to shows like this with me, or shows with Paul or Rick talk, like guys who come to practice and watch.
Mm-hmm.
And you say, okay, well, like, we've heard all this great stuff about Dante Maddox and how well he does in practice and how he shoots the lights out. And then the games start and you don't see that. And I think that there's this thing that is happening, particularly to Dante Maddox, where he feels like his best way to make an impact is making shots. And I totally understand that. I get that. But if you listen to Sean Miller talk, his best way to make an impact is to execute on defense, is to take care of the ball, is to run their offense the way he wants them to. And if you do all those things, you check all those boxes, guess what? You're going to run into open threes.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's your way to stay on the floor. I think sometimes I think the thing with the transfer portal that drives people a little bit crazy and makes it hard to understand is that, like, a guy like Dante Maddox came in from Toledo where he had free reign to play through mistakes, where it was just like, okay, you turned it over, you missed a defensive assignment. We know in 2 or 3 possessions, you're going to come down on offense and you're going to bang home a 3. Well, with Sean Miller, it's a little different, right? It's not, you can't just like completely avoid those mistakes and just say, oh, we're going to let him just keep doing that and hope that he makes some threes. No. So he's being asked to play a different style, a different role. And I think sometimes that's hard for these guys on a 1-year deal, basically, to come in and figure out exactly what's expected of them and to play that way efficiently, and then to do all the things that they came here to do, right? So I think Dante Maddox right now is kind of the poster child for that, where it's like, he has all the tools, he has the skill, he has the talent. It's a matter of putting it all together And you kind of saw it in that TCU game. I know that was a bad game. It didn't end the way Xavier fans wanted it to, but like he was able to stay on the floor because he was making deflections on defense. He was locking guys down. He was grabbing rebounds. And then what happened at the other end of the floor? I think he made 3 threes. So
Yeah.
that's kind of the give and take with him right now, is that it's hard to figure out and put your finger on why it can't be there more consistently. But you're absolutely right. Like, if this season is not going to completely go off the rails for Xavier, like they need Dante Maddox to step up in a big way too.
So and you talked about the transfer portal and these like basically 1 year deals. This Fremantle injury really screws things up in ways like that way, because these guys are just starting to gel coming out of non-conference and understand. They're really starting to understand each other and how they play in games, not just in practice. And now you got to basically change up everything. God, I couldn't even imagine being Sean Miller right now. It's got to be so difficult.
Yeah,
Hey,
it's
what
not
happened?
easy.
What's going on with Trey Green?
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where it's hard to put your finger on exactly what's going on with him. I there it like the complicated answer is I don't know. Or I'm
Yeah.
sorry, that's the easy answer. The complicated answer is I think there's a lot of things at play, right? Like he's not playing as much as he wants to. He was hoping that this was going to be a year where he took a leap, and now it's kind of like, okay, well, this year hasn't gone the way I wanted it to. I think this could be a situation where he's trying to get a red shirt or something like that. So
Hmm.
it's unfortunate, but I don't think that they're going to be able to count on Trey Green going forward.
Well, that just makes Dante Maddox that much more important.
Yeah,
So, and Foster, those guys are going to be, those two are going to be huge coming down the stretch. And I am going to tell you this: you're going to find out who Dalen Swain is. Is he Najee Marshall? Is he Colby Jones? Or is he not? Basically, is he just another big tall wing that's a little skinny, and has trouble? Because if he can come out in his sophomore season and turn up, especially now that they need him to, this could be really special for this kid. I mean, Najee Marshall is making a living off his sophomore year at Xavier
yeah.
right now. So, 31, by the way, for old number 13 when he played in his last uh, crosstown shootout. That was a victory for us. Unfortunately, the other day we did not get one.
No, you didn't.
Adam, talk to me about how frustrated. I know one play and things like that, and one call don't make a game. I get it. But in the end of a game, when a guy steps over the free throw line when he's shooting a free throw, and it's as blatant as it is, how hard is that to get out of your mind? How hard do you feel like looking at those kids on the team? Everybody seemed irritated. Miller was upset. Everybody was going crazy. Does that just throw everything off? Because the last however long after that seemed to be terrible.
Yeah, Sean actually brought this up unprompted on his radio show last night, and he basically said that he told the ref, like, hey, he left early, you need to go review that. And they said, oh, we can't review that. And it's one of those things where it's like, did it have an outcome in the game? Yes. Did Xavier do their fair share of giving that game away to a certain
Yes.
extent? Yes. But that is one of those plays where it's like, man, if they call that, what happens?
Mm-hmm.
Because I think right after that was Conwell came down and hit the three and got fouled, right, for the 4 point
Yes.
play.
Yep.
Yeah. So that's a big what if scenario, and unfortunately, those are the exact scenarios that can kind of plague you between your ears.
Right. And that's my yeah. And I don't know. And Conwell, God love that kid, man. He worked his tail off in that game to try to get open. And UC did a phenomenal job of locking him down. Uh, I don't
Yep.
know that he's going to see too many defenders the way that it was Day Day. What's his name?
Day
Day
Thomas.
Day Thomas. Is that the one who guarded him most of the time, or was it?
They had whenever Skillings came in the game, I think he was the primary defender. But Skillings, honestly, like I don't think he played too much in that game. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, UC's length, their athleticism, like I that it's kind of a tough matchup, right? Especially when you've got a night where, Davion doesn't really have it going offensively. And Marcus Foster, I know he made 2 threes, but those were the only 2 shots he made. And it's like you're kind of begging people to step up and someone to do something. And, Zach had it going in the first half, Conwell had it going in the second half. And then you kind of sprinkle Dalen Swain in there with 13 points. And it's like that's really all they got.
Right.
Adam, did just really quick again on the free throw that Skillings went over the line on. Did Sean Miller say anything about like them not boxing him out?
Yeah, he did after the game in his post game press conference. I think he said, I if I might be misremembering his exact quote, so I would encourage people to go watch it. But the interesting thing is like if the free throw shooter leaves early, it's very hard to block him out, right? Because by that logic, one of your guys also would have to leave early and enter the lane just to block him out. So I think that, it's a little bit weird in that sense where it's like, okay, he left early. The only way you're going to be able to block out the free throw shooter if he leaves early is if one of your guys jumps into the lane as well to get there before him. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
or one of the bottom guys does, but then you leave the guy next to him.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I hadn't heard anything. I hadn't heard anybody talk about that, and I didn't get to hear Sean Miller's press conference after the game, but I was just wondering that.
I had to coach a third grade girls basketball game that started at 4 o'clock. I had the game on the scores table, trying to watch the end of it. And the team we played is I can't remember where I think it's somewhere around in Clifton. Fairview, I think is what they're called. There was a woman coach who had the screechiest voice and just screeched at her girls the entire time. I couldn't stand next to the scores table anymore because I was too close to her. So I had to walk away. I did not see the end of the game. I missed the last 2 minutes of the crosstown shootout.
Yeah, that's tough.
Yeah,
although
very tough.
Maybe you didn't want to see him.
I know you're probably right. You're probably right. You're probably right. But my girls got a W that night, so that's a good thing, right?
There you go.
There you go.
Adam, let's get in specifically to both the All In, what you're doing with the All In docuseries, and then I want to talk to you a little bit about the Sean Miller podcast that I love.
Oh my God, the guest you get on the Sean Miller podcast. First off, Adam, when you have these big guests on, you're probably the greatest question asker I've ever heard in my life. You only get one or two. That's
I
it.
know. Well,
Sean does a phenomenal job, but seriously, you guys get some the Stan Van Gundy.
That's my favorite.
That's my 100%. That's the best episode I've ever seen.
Yeah, and my philosophy, because my friends will give me crap about this. Like, we'll have a big guest on, and I barely talk. And the way I think about this is like anyone who clicks on that episode to listen to it or watch it, like they want to watch Sean and Stan Van Gundy talk, right? So I'm there to like stay out of the way. And if they need me to jump in, I'm more than happy to jump in. But it's kind of like, hey, like, let's let the A team, talk here, and we'll let the B and C team just kind of sit here and watch. But yeah, it's super cool that, right now we're at this weird point where, we are doing the All In docuseries with 3 people, which is crazy. It's like I'm working a camera, I'm shooting stuff all day, I'm logging footage at night. Then I'm taking that hard drive to our director and editor, Josh, and he's putting the episode together. And then we're talking about it. We're going back and forth. How can we make it better? Blah, blah, blah. But we've been so hyper focused on the All In series that it's like it's kind of been really challenging to keep up with the podcast. So like we haven't released a new episode of the podcast in 2 weeks now. So we're trying to get that back going. But yeah, it's really cool that like we have the opportunity to do this stuff that really no other like college programs are doing the way that we are. So it's been a ton of fun, and Sean's such a good sport about it. And especially when stuff is going on like it is right now, right? Like the last thing he wants to do is have a camera in his face at practice. and he has to look up and see me holding a camera in his face, and he couldn't be cooler about it. So, yeah,
It's a good thing he likes you.
yeah.
It's a good thing he likes you
Sometimes
for
I think
sure, for sure.
when
I
when
gotta
I
tell
come
you,
up to him and I say, Coach, we need a podcast this week. I don't. He doesn't always like me when I say that, but
you know what? This has got to be a hard time for him to do a podcast anyway. I mean, this is more than
Oh
just
yeah.
practices in the off season. This is, I mean, game planning constantly. And then when something like this, I can only imagine how good this episode's going to be with all of the, no, even if Xavier loses 3 games in a row, the
yeah,
way, what you guys have done with the first, was it 3 episodes? I don't even know how many
yeah.
episodes are out
First
there.
three,
First
Oh
three
yeah,
episodes, what you guys have done with those, uh, like to think of how all of this is going to come into the next episode with the crosstown shootout, with Fremantle's stuff. I don't know how much Trey Green gets put in there or not. Then the Yukon, then Marquette, and it's like, oh my God, this is
yeah.
good. I'm watching from the outside, and I can't wait to see it from the inside.
I know, and that's kind of how we feel about it too, right? Is that on one hand, you would love it if Xavier won every game and you could just make this really cool docu-series documenting this dominant team that just takes care of business and nothing happens. But the reality is, like, this is a college basketball season and unpredictable stuff is going to happen. And right now we're in the midst of it, right? And there's going to be drama and you're going to lose games and things aren't always going to go the way you want them to. So it's our job to represent that and to give you reality. And yeah, like this is a part of the schedule where it's like, man, it would be great if they could have won the shootout, or they could knock off UConn at UConn or beat Marquette at Cintas on Saturday. But the reality is whatever happens happens, and we have to be there, and we have to be rolling cameras, and then we got to put it all together. So as much as I'll like complain about how hard it is sometimes, the truth is, I can't imagine like doing something else right now. Like this is so much fun and
Yeah,
it's super cool to be a part of it. And my whole life I played sports, right? And being a part of a team will always be one of my favorite things that I've ever gotten to do. And right now, we don't get paid by Xavier. We're not out on the coaching staff. We don't put on uniforms and go play in the games. But there's this small sliver of like, we are part of this team. You know,
100%.
we've gotten to know these guys. We've gotten to know the coaches. We get to be around them in some ways when they're at their most vulnerable, right? Like we interviewed Bazile for episode 2 about his knee injury, 2 weeks after he had surgery. And it's like, those are the moments where you kind of pinch yourself and you say, we're doing something really cool. Sometimes it's really hard to execute it. And, but yeah, it's like, it's been so much fun. I can't wait to see the way the rest of the season goes. I sort of told Sean when the Fremantle news came out, I was like, look, I know you, I know your coaches, I know the guys that you have in that locker room. I know that no one is going to quit. Like you guys are going to fight to the finish and try to make this season as great as it can be. And if nothing else, when this docu series ends, people are going to watch it and they're going to walk away from it and they're going to say, "Man, these guys fought to the finish line." Like, however the rest of this season goes, like we will document that and we will show you what really goes into like battling and going through a college basketball season, the ups and the downs.
And I love that. And I think that Sean gets kind of that part of what all this is. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
he gets it. Like he's totally good with it. I mean, he allows you guys to put footage on there where you got to blur his mouth out sometimes because he's calling a play or something. But
exactly.
but he allows you guys to do a lot. So I assume that means he gets final view of this before it airs. Is that right?
Yeah. So, Sean will watch it, a member of his staff will watch it. And essentially, what they're doing when they watch it is, okay, did we publicize the names of any plays?
Hmm.
Are there did any hot mics pick up things that we don't want them to pick up? So yeah, there is like a level of, hey, we are in this together. they've given us this access. We can't abuse it. We certainly don't want to do anything unintentionally. So we do have like a system of checks and balances in place.
That's really cool. I love it.
Yeah.
So I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe the story behind the Sean Miller podcast was he wanted to do this, right? He came to you and asked you to kind of spearhead it or be involved in it. Is that right?
So the podcast is slightly different. The podcast is my boss who owns 1831 Media Network. His name is Anthony Breen. He's a Xavier grad, successful businessman. He had this idea to start the Sean Miller podcast. So he pitched it to Sean, and Sean was like, "Oh, this is really cool. Like, I think it could be great for Xavier to bring some notoriety and, to elevate their brand." So that's how the podcast got started. The docuseries was actually Sean's idea.
That was
so
the point of this show. Yeah.
The Pittsburgh Steelers, they do their own version, like an in-house version of Hard Knocks. I think it's called The Standard or something like that, but it's on their YouTube channel. And Sean one day sent me a text, and it was an episode of that show. And he was like, "Hey, this is really cool. I love this show." He's from Pittsburgh. He loves the Steelers. He also loves Joe Burrow, which is interesting. And he was like, "Hey, do you think like we could do something this season like this?" And I remember getting that text and thinking like, man, how do I not do it now? Like, Sean Miller texts you asking you if we can do this. Then it becomes like, okay, how do we make this happen and do this? So that's really how the ball got rolling. And like I said, if you watch an episode of Hard Knocks, the crazy thing is like watch the credits and see how many people they have working on that show to make that what it is. And like we literally have 3 people who are doing this.
I love it.
So this is like run and gun.
The production, Adam, for 3 of you guys, or however you guys manage that, the production is amazing.
Yeah.
You guys, it is seriously extremely well done. I mean, it is as professional gets. I know the guy that owns your company. He was on one of the podcasts. Mm-hmm. He's a serial entrepreneur or something, I think, as he calls himself. But legit, this dude had a vision, and you guys all are, or Sean Miller had a vision, and what you guys did to it is awesome. This is my question for you here, though. Is this something that you guys are thinking can go year to year and it becomes like a Xavier staple? Like you want to see the, team fit. What team number are we on now? I don't even remember.
I think 103.
Team 103. Are you want to watch team 110 in that run they had to the Final Four? You want to see team 103's run to the Final Four? Sorry about that. I should have corrected myself. You want to see that? Let's go back. Was that the one? Oh, what was that? Was that when Swain was a sophomore or junior? I can't remember. And then you get to go back and find those. Is this something that you guys might do year to year? Or is this, let's do this one year, get it done, take a deep breath, and figure out what to do next?
Yeah, I mean, the reality is I think nothing is off the table and nothing is planned right now, right? Like, I think the cool thing about where we're at is I think the fact that we've proven that we can do this and we can execute it and we can do it well, I think it will open doors to do other stuff going forward. It might not be like the exact iteration of what we're doing now, where it's a season-long docuseries that follows them from the summer all the way to the last game. It might be, something that we've kind of talked about that could completely die on the vine is like, I think Netflix does something called Starting 5, which kind of like highlights 5 different NBA players. So maybe next year it's like we do 5 to 10 episodes throughout the season where it's like each episode follows a specific player, and it's not exactly what we're doing now, but it is sort of in that same vein where it's like we're documenting the season from a certain point of view. So these are all things that we're talking about that I think will be on the table going forward. But yeah, to answer your question, like it would be cool if this was something we could just do year in and year out, but I don't know. I don't know how that'll work.
I'll tell you, man, I love what you guys are doing. I know Xavier Nation loves it. To get that little bit of a different aspect is so cool. I ain't gonna lie to you. I started running that little closeout drill with the side shuffle. I started running that in my boys practice because they can't they're always standing straight up and they never want to sink their butt down and guard somebody, right? They're always standing. So we close out and now we shuffle to the left and then we sprint back to the right. Next guy closes out and we'll go one way or the other. I don't know if it's exactly the way he was doing it, but I saw that and I was like, I'm doing that. I got to figure out that he's getting John Hughley to sink his butt down. And I need to sit down and guard somebody. I love it. I love it.
No, you're not far off, right? Like every time we've released an episode of this, like there are all of these coaching accounts on social media where they just share, coaching drills and coaching speeches and whatnot. And sure enough, every time we've released an episode, they clip certain parts of it and post it on their social media channels because it's like people love that stuff, like getting a
Absolutely.
peek behind the curtain. And man, how does Sean Miller get a guy to get better at this one specific thing? Well, you're going to see that. You're going to find it out.
Yeah, like the head when a guy's in gap right next to next to the ball and he kind of overplays the help a little bit if a guy's driving and his guy cuts back door and you get beat back door like he's like just throw get your hands high, throw your body on him when he's cutting, something good's gonna happen. And I'm like, oh,
Yep.
all right, that sounds like something I'm gonna tell my boys when they get beat back door. Don't just chase him. Get your hands in the air, throw your chest on him, and hope for the best.
Exactly. Help will come.
I love that. And listening to him talk, my dad talks about Sean Miller all the time. My dad's like, listen, Sean Miller sounds like a guy, like Chris Mack was a dude that you feel like you could go have a beer with, right? You can sit and chill with, whatever. He's like, Sean Miller sounds like a guy that all he wants to do is talk about basketball, and it's the only thing he's gonna do. He doesn't want to do anything else. It's just basketball, basketball, basketball. And that's what that sounds like that would be a fun day.
Yeah. He's not far off. I will say, like Sean will throw you some curveballs and he'll talk to you about the NFL a lot too.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
he's not 100% hoops, but he's not far off.
Sure. I get it.
But
Yeah.
you got to listen to him talk about the Steelers all the time.
I do, yeah, it's true.
That's okay.
Really quick because we want to get to. I don't know if you, since you're out and about, I don't know if you have a chance to do the Mount Rushmore with us or not. But before we get to that, all I want to know, because I feel like I keep bouncing back and forth between the podcast and the All In series, but your favorite episode of the Sean Miller podcast so far?
Ooh.
His
This
wife.
is
It's got to be the one with his wife, right?
the Amy
That
one
was
was
good.
really good.
Was
We've
really good.
gotten a lot of feedback on that one. Yeah, this is such a tough question for me because
Yeah, I'm sure.
you know, honestly, I for me personally, I love the two Holloway episode.
Yeah.
If Romaine Sato could have been in person,
Yes.
he probably would have been my favorite. Like we had to do it virtually because there were some circumstances outside of our control. But yeah, to Holloway, he's such an interesting dude. I just love that episode from start to finish.
He's a very cerebral fella.
He is. That's the word I was looking for. Cerebral.
Yes. And Sato's episode, it got a little jumpy because in the audio, there's a little bit of talking over top and then stopping and going. And it's
Yes.
like, man, and then I mean, the guy speaks 9 languages or something. I remember when he
I
was at
know.
Xavier, what does he say? I think he said he speaks 7 now. Like, so there's a language barrier plus but when that dude is live, I'm sure that would have been really cool. But he's just in
Yeah.
Dayton, right? He still lives not far
No,
away.
he's actually he's down in San Antonio now.
Oh, he's in San Antonio. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, then that's going to be tough to get him on,
Yeah.
but still,
There are so many great
so many
episodes.
greats, dude. There are.
The TJ
Well,
McConnell. When I saw TJ McConnell, I was like, and I've jumped around and watched them like out of order, kind of. But But the TJ McConnell one, we talked about the Stan Van Gundy one,
Yeah.
JP McCura one, the one with Sean Miller's wife, the one with Chris Mack. I love every time he has another coach on.
Yeah.
That's my favorite.
Yes, those are really good. People love it when you get Sean with another coach on.
Yeah.
Yeah, TJ McConnell, like he might be the number one fan of the Sean Miller podcast. He actually hit us up. He wants a Sean Miller podcast hoodie, so we're gonna send him a hoodie. And we said the only thing is you have to wear it when you walk into the arena for an NBA game. You know, the NBA players
On a
walk
televised game, yeah.
Yes, yeah.
Yes.
So we're gonna get
That's
that to
so
happen.
cool.
So there was a really cool part of the Stan Van Gundy. Again, I took off of this. There's a really cool part of the Stan Van Gundy episode where I think they were talking about those two were talking about McConnell, and they were talking about how, 12 years or however long he's been in the NBA now, and about how you have to know your strengths and know your weaknesses and
Yep.
and play to them. And if you can do that, you can make it. And I just had that speech last night with my 6th grade boys, telling we sat down afterwards and I was like, you've been called for traveling and carrying the ball because you dribble the ball so high and all this stuff. Like, know your strengths and weaknesses. You're really great at this, and this. Go out there and be even better at those. And then when you get a breakaway, get your head up and pass it to a guard. I'm not saying you suck. I'm not saying you're bad. Know your strengths, know your weaknesses. And we had a whole thing with the whole team about let's try to focus on that and stop getting out of your comfort zone and have a 5 try to dribble all the way down the court when you can barely keep the ball next to you. Right.
Yeah.
I love, like, there's so many little things that come off of those coaches to coaches stuff that you just automatically, you're like, oh my God, that's so simple, but can work at any level of basketball or baseball. My thing's baseball. I'm a baseball guy. That's what I coach. I just got done with baseball practice today. Like, I know it sounds ridiculous practicing in December with 12 and 13-year-olds, but it is what it is. But it's those little things that you can pick up. I love the coaches stuff.
Yeah.
And Sean is so good.
He is. I tell him all the time, I'm like, man, like you're good at this, right? Like never forget the fact that, like, you're here to be a coach, you're here to win games and to get teams better over the course of the season. But like if he wasn't as good at this stuff, like media type stuff, as he is, like none of this would work, right?
Yep.
So I try to remind him of that as often as I can.
That's awesome, man.
Hey, really quick, speaking of baseball, Adam, I know you were a bullpen catcher in high school, and I just want to let you know I'm searching job searches all the time, and the Yankees are looking for a bullpen catcher right now. I'm just letting you know. I want you to stay here, but I just want to let you know that the Yankees are looking for.
You told Adam before you told me?
He is a bull.
That's true. I mean, that is his profession. It's his ex-profession, but he's moved on to bigger and better things.
Yeah.
You know what's interesting about that is I've actually looked into this before, and yeah, bullpen catchers, like most of them are like former minor league guys, like they, so it might be a little outside my pedigree, but like to know that the opportunity is out there, I appreciate that. That means a lot.
I love it. And also being a bullpen catcher at Elder, where somebody might top out at 85. You know what I mean? And being a bullpen catcher in the major leagues where a dude's throwing a 96-mile-an-hour slider, there's not enough catcher's equipment made for me to wear.
Yeah, that's intimidating, right? And I went through a phase my junior year where I legitimately had the yips and I could not throw the ball back.
Wow.
Yeah, so you can imagine, like, Charlie Leisman, big-time pitcher, wants to get ready for a game and his catcher can't throw the ball back to him. So
just roll it back.
You got to have a third guy to run it back for
exactly. We got through it though. We won state that year.
That's exactly right. I was going to say, I thought that was state year. So you just put a bucket of balls next to him and an empty bucket next to you, just like in the home run derby, right? Just catch it, toss it to the side.
Here's the story for the children who might be listening to this: is that I got through that. I worked through it. I didn't let it stop me. I came back my senior year, and we made it to the regional final.
With really, really good throws
Really
back to the
good.
pitcher during warmups.
So good.
So good.
Some of my best.
What got you out of it? Was it just the break between junior and senior year? Or
No,
was there a psychological thing you figured
Did you
out?
go to a
Yeah.
coach? Did you have a throwing coach that you
I
went
think
to?
I think I talked to my dad about it. I think I went through some things with my dad where I was like, Dad, I can't throw the ball back to the pitcher right now. I forget what he told me, but it was one of those things where it kind of worked itself out. But it was touch and go for a couple of weeks there where I was like, I
And
could
also
not get it
too,
out of my head.
I'm sure you still played in the summer for a summer team.
I did, yeah.
Yeah, so he got to get back out there and get in the action. And once you get in the action, brother, it's
Forget
the
about everything
adrenaline's
else.
going. You're just catching fire.
Exactly.
By the way, you know what trumps not playing in the minor leagues? On your resume, just put that you played for Mark Thompson. I mean, that's got to
right.
trump everything.
That carries some serious weight.
I'm
Yes, it
telling
does.
you.
Yes, it does.
And speaking of Mark Thompson, he's not a teacher. He's technically a teacher at Elder, but he's a coach at Elder, which is teaching. Do you have a Mount Rushmore of Elder teachers?
Yeah. Yeah. This was I'm gonna struggle basic like I know my top two. My number
Yes.
one is Joe Aceto.
Oh,
nice.
We should have thought Adam being, going to the beat writing side of things and
Yeah.
all that he'd pull an English teacher out.
Yep. I took his creative writing class my senior year, and it was such a great class, and it really opened my eyes to like storytelling, what it's really about. So he always stuck with me. Obviously, like Mr. Crimer's the easy one because he's just a legend and he's been there forever.
Yep.
The other one is another one that's like very specific to me, which is Mr. Rearing, Dave Rearing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he at the time was the journalism teacher. And I may have told this story to you guys before, maybe I didn't, but my senior year, I had my whole entire schedule planned out. And if you remember when you're a junior and senior, you have a little more freedom with how you make your schedule, and you can kind of pick and choose courses that you want to take, courses you don't want to take. So I had my whole schedule booked except for my last period of the day, seventh period. And at the time, I was down between journalism and astronomy. I found out that journalism was taught in the Shaper Center, and it was in the last classroom in the Shaper Center.
Fastest out.
Right where I parked my car.
Fastest
so
out.
I knew if I took journalism, I could get in my car right away, and I would beat all the traffic out of the parking lot for my whole senior year.
Yes.
So that's literally why I took journalism. And it ended up being like an awesome class and kind of changed the trajectory of my life. But yeah.
That's so cool, man.
What other journalists can say they owe their whole career to their parking spot in their senior year in high school?
Well, really, I owe it to laziness, right? Like that was just pure laziness. Like I don't want to walk. I don't want to wait in traffic. I'm going to take this class because it's convenient for me.
I love it.
I call that efficiency.
That's efficiency. Yeah. Yes.
Now, my last Mount Rushmore is kind of a funny one. I think you guys will understand why. Doug Ramsey, who was my gym teacher, and I think if you ever got him on this podcast, you have to ask him one question. You have to ask him who the greatest dodgeball player he's ever seen in his history of teaching gym at Elder High School.
Okay, I like it. All right,
he will say me.
Hey.
If he doesn't, we got a serious problem. Because I was the guy in dodgeball who I'd be the last one left on my team, and I'd be, it'd be like 1 against 7, and I would win.
Yes.
Wow.
Look at this guy. Look at this guy.
If he says otherwise, just come to a football game with a dodgeball and peg him with one right in the middle of the game.
That's exactly what I'll do.
I love that. That's awesome.
All right, that's cool.
Hey, I got to tell you real quick, just to show how old we are. He took a class in the Shaper Center.
Yeah, that was
It
that
didn't
was
exist. It didn't
that was
exist when we were there.
that was a Revco drugstore
Yes,
when
it
I was a
was.
freshman.
Yes, it was I got chocolate milk and donuts before school. When
Now I will make you guys feel a little bit better. I think the Shaper Center opened my junior year.
Okay.
There
All
you go.
right. Yeah. Because they had purchased it my junior year and had not done and hadn't started, but there was talks of what they were going to do, but hadn't done anything when I left. It was just
Yeah.
empty. But my freshman and sophomore year, for sure, that was a drugstore.
That's
How
great.
far we've come.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, do you remember yours? Like I just for Adam,
Okay.
for me, Kevin Whitmer, Joe Schoenfeld, Paul Fry, and Mark Floyd. Those were my four. Mark
Oh, those
Floyd
are
was
good.
a sleeper.
Mark
Yeah.
Floyd was a sleeper for sure, and I love Coach Floyd. He
Yeah.
coaches. He umpires some of my baseball games now.
No shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I had Whitmer too, and my big story with Whitmer was he let me and my buddy, who we thought were the greatest cornhole players in the history of cornhole, like no one could beat us in school ever, and we were both 1 or 2 points away from getting out of the exam in what class was that? Some kind of American history maybe.
Yeah, something like that.
And he said, "All right, the day before the exam, it's like a study hall. It's basically everybody just gets you just study in your class or whatever." He goes, "Well, I'll go to the wrestling gym, and I'll bring cornhole boards. Dressman's got an off. We'll bring his class, and Dressman and Whitmer played cornhole against me and my buddy, and Bud, they beat the brakes off of us. We found out what grown man cornhole was. I'm gonna tell you that right now. We were beating a bunch of 13, 14, and 15-year-olds or whatever, 17 and 18, and we found out what grown man cornhole was. And I was so mad. And I'm driving down West 8th. He lived in Delhi and I lived in Delhi. And he pulls up next to me and he says, "Hey, call Little. You guys are out of the exam. You're good." And I was like, "Let's go." It was awesome.
On the street.
On the
stoplight
street
or
at the stoplight. Yes, at yeah, on the street. Anyway, so Whitmer, and I've got another personal one with Mr. Klusman. I was academically ineligible after my freshman year, and he wrote me a big long letter and mailed it to me, and it was like 3 pages long, and it really meant a lot to me. So
That's cool.
yeah, Mr. Klusman was a phenomenal guy. Who was my
Yeah.
last one?
Hmm.
I said Breedy at one point, and I took that off because I really like Mr.
Say
Breedy.
Mr. Rosen, maybe? Or...
Oh, I think I did go
Oh,
Mr.
Mr.
Rosen. Yeah, I
Rosen.
did Mr. Rosen. Yep.
God, if I had some do-overs, I would find a way to put Mr. Rosen and Whitmer in mine.
Dude,
Those are
Whit
two
was
good.
my guy.
I bet you if you like polled everyone who's come through Elder, I bet you Whitmer would be like a very popular pick.
Oh yeah.
Oh, absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
We used to play when they first got all the teachers. This will get you, Adam. The first year they gave teachers laptops. He looked up some video where he was playing old like Saturday morning cartoon. What are they called? What's the things in the very beginning of it?
Like an intro song or
Intro
something?
songs, and we all had to guess them. It was hilarious. He did it for like 3 straight classes. It was like Fraggle Rock. Anyway, that's awesome. Yes.
Yeah.
Thanks for doing that, brother.
No, anytime. You know, I love joining you guys on these.
And I appreciate it. And we will definitely not let it be such a long hiatus next time.
Yes.
We'll get you on here shortly. Hopefully, maybe before the Big East tournament or something like that.
All right,
See if
yeah,
we can get something going.
let's do it. Yeah,
That
that'd be
sounds
great.
good. I
Love it.
appreciate it. Adam Baum, the producer, co-producer, co-writer, co-host of the Sean Miller podcast. Producer and writer of the All In docuseries. What else are you doing, Adam?
Yeah, you know, right now the docuseries is dominating everything. I will say one area where I had to personally step up was I'm now a videographer.
Oh, I got to write this down so I put this
Yeah.
in your intro here, bub.
So, you know, I got a camera. I'm using this camera every day. I've literally had to be educated and taught how to use the camera. So it's been an experience, but I'm very happy with how far I've come. I'm committed to my process.
Well, I'll tell you, if you go to the original interview of I think it was Foster and Basile in the restaurant,
Yeah, you hear my voice a lot there.
and then you go on to like 2, 3 episodes later, you're like, oh my gosh, all right, I see the transition coming from my man's looking good.
Yeah.
Love it. So good, bro. So good, man. For real. On top of having one of the greatest records in Elder football history,
Yep.
and so on and so forth. Look it up if you don't know what it is. Adam, I can't tell you how much we appreciate you, man. Seriously. Thank you for all your time and walking around Hartford, Connecticut with your AirPods right now.
No, this is fun. I'll always make time for you guys. You guys are two of the good ones.
You're the best.
Appreciate you, brother, man. You have a good night, and let's get a dub tomorrow against them Huskies.
I would love that. You guys take care, man.
Thanks, Adam.
See you, Adam.
See you, boys.
Mr. Adam Baum. That dude is that guy, he gave us an hour. I looked down, it was 10:30. How did it get to be 11? How'd that happen?
We can go on and on.
Man, I feel bad. Anyway, Adam knows that we go long.
Yeah, we always do.
Because when he was not feeling good last week, he said, what do you say? You think we might be able to keep it around 30 minutes? Because he was feeling really, really bad. And I said, nah. You just get yourself feeling better. Really, I was like, there's no way I can do this in 30 minutes.
Get yourself feeling better so we have carte blanche about.
Yes, I need a full hour. No, seriously, man. My man is awesome. And every once in a while he'll run by me at the Centos Center and talk to me. I've seen him a few times over there. So the dudes, I meant to talk. I always forget stuff. I wanted to give him crap because I get there really early to set up beer and stuff at the very top of the Centos Center for our organization. And then I go down and sit in my seats. And if you get there early, him and Paul Fritchner are down there on the court hooping.
Oh, yeah.
Straight hooping for like 25 minutes. They're just getting shots up.
That's a cool perk of that job.
That is a cool perk. And I'm like, I love it. I watch down there. I'll just be sitting there watching. I'll sit there. I'll sit there and I'll go, I'm going to clap as soon as he makes one. And I stand there for way too long. I'm like, I got to get some work done. Nah, I'm kidding, Adam. I love you, brother. I'm kidding.
Oh, man. Okay. We got a few more things to wrap up here before we go. One thing, while we're talking about our Mount Rushmore of Sportscenter anchors,
yes,
is that I have Reese's this week.
I love it. So good.
And what we have this week are
Ooh,
sugar cookie
I saw this.
peanut butter cups.
I saw these.
We have the miniatures here. All right, so these are the miniatures, which are definitely going to be different than the big ones.
Yeah, as I saw the big ones. So here's my question for you: sugar cookie Reese's. Mm-hmm. How much peanut butter is in this? Yeah, because the Reese's peanut butter is what makes these, bub.
Yeah, you're right. It looks like on the package that they're a little almost like cookie dough balls.
Yeah, I can already smell it.
Yeah, me too.
It is not Reese's smelling right here.
No, it smells a little different, right?
Not to say that that's bad.
Yeah.
Not to say that that's bad.
Yeah.
He's got the first bite in. I'm hearing crunch.
Mm-hmm. There's a little crunch.
A little crunchy crunch?
Mm-hmm.
Is that so? Is it like a cooked cookie then? Not cookie dough?
It's almost like Reese's Puffs or Kicks or one of those cereal deals, you know?
Yeah, but I don't like it goes in the back of my.
I know what you mean.
You can breathe it in and it goes in the back of your throat and up and out your nose.
Yeah, you smell it.
Ooh, what is that? That is strong.
Yeah.
Whatever they do to make this taste like a sugar cookie. I don't know if I can have two of these.
Don't have the other one. Because
what is that flavor?
Also do the big ones.
Oh, God.
Big ones, okay? They're going to taste a little different, right? With the big cup versus so these are the ones that you would think will have a little more peanut butter. Yeah?
I hope so.
You would think.
I hope so. Whatever's in okay, I see it now. It's the puff.
The big cups, yeah.
Ooh, whatever.
So you can see a little topographical,
a little topographical top.
Yeah. Some top hot.
I don't know if I'm
IPA.
gonna be able to get this. I wonder what is that. See, I'm so bad with flavors, like knowing. But people would be like, "Oh, there's too much oregano in this," and I'm like, you know what you know what oregano tastes like. Oh, so much thyme. Somebody should have used less thyme. I'm like, oh, but a guy put more time into making something, man. You should be happy. That's it.
20 minutes.
Yeah, what the heck?
Interesting.
I shouldn't open this. I should have just take your second one. This is the big cup, so hopefully there's a lot more peanut butter. All right, Adam, you got your first bite in, munching a little bit there. I'm gonna need to know what your thoughts are. Is it better
I like this.
than the first one?
It is a little bit better because you do taste more of the peanut butter, I feel like.
Oh, much more the peanut butter.
I liked the first one a lot. There's definitely whatever the chemical they use to make it taste like it's some sort of chemically thing, but
It is definitely chemical. That's
And
a perfect way to say it.
and I don't know if it's exactly sugar. It feels like it's a very familiar taste that tastes like something else that I can't put my finger on.
Mm-hmm.
Same.
Yeah, 100%.
But this is good. You taste a little less of that flavor in this and a little more of the peanut butter.
The big cup is way better than the little one. I couldn't breathe without having it taste.
Is it vinegar?
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's like that was a potent,
Took
man.
your breath away, huh?
It did. I would eat the second one of these. I would eat the other one of these. I will eat the other one of these. I will. I will eat it.
Okay. Your score for the miniature sugar cookie Reese's peanut butter cup.
1.1.
That bad.
That's the grossest thing I've
Wow.
I think that's gross.
Wow. Okay.
But there's the right amount of mixture in the big one.
You definitely have more peanut butter there because it glued in your mouth.
Glued my mouth shut.
I'm gonna go 9-2 on the miniature, and your big cup score.
I'll go 7-8.
This might be the low. I mean, 1.1 obviously is the lowest you've ever. But besides that, 7-8 might be your second
It
lowest.
could be. Yeah. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and act like I'd buy this.
All right, more from me. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go 9.64.
Wow.
9.641.
Whoa,
going
to
to
the
the
thousandth
thousands, yeah.
place.
Yep. That's a 9.641 for the big cup sugar cookie Reese's peanut butter cup.
Real quick. Shout out to both of us right there.
Yeah.
You said 9.641, and at the same time, we both immediately said going to the thousandth place.
Well, we went to Elder. It's an incredible math school, and
shout out Mr. Geis, who
shout out Mr. Geis.
after the last story that I told, where he let me out of algebra's exam because I decided I would take band for 1 year.
Shout out to Mr. Geis for teaching you math and teaching both of us on a musical instrument for 1 year.
He didn't do a very good
Or
job
2
at the
years.
math. I can still play the saxophone, but he didn't do a very good job at math. I almost failed.
You know, that's funny because I always felt like I was terrible at math. I think I'm a lot better at math now, and I don't remember one thing about playing the drums.
No,
I mean, a couple things, but I can't play them.
I don't know. Here's what I don't understand about the drums. You play a drum. Let's say you play the snare drum or the bass drum. How hard can that be? Because, like, I got to learn where my fingers go for every single note. There's like 12 of them or something.
Yeah.
And flats and sharps. You got one note, you just got to bang it a little bit faster. You just play the D all the way across, right? Is that how you read it?
Couplets and triplets and flim-flams and I think that's a real term, I think, if I remember right. But I mean,
Is that when they flip the stick in the air? Is that a flim flam?
Well, like, it is now. That's what we're gonna call that. No, there's probably more to it than just hitting it when you see a note. But I don't know. I didn't want to take it, But
Why did you take band?
I think because you had to choose like either band or art, right?
100%.
And I couldn't. I'm famously horrible at art.
I still, to this day, draw stick figures.
Yeah. I can't draw anything. But and also our cousin was already in the band.
Right.
Mike was in it, and I thought, okay, well, I'll learn the drum. My dad had learned the drum when he was younger, and Mike was already playing it. Joe, I think, may have already been taking
he was
classes
already
in grade
Yeah, I
school.
think
and
so.
I was like, all right, there are enough people around me that know how to do this. I can figure it out.
Joe never took beginning band. He just jumped straight into the band.
Right. Yeah, he took it for a few years in grade school. Yeah.
Not me, my man. Not me, my friend. I sang into my saxophone while I was on the field.
Yeah, I love that.
Oh, say can.
Okay. We got the Reese's covered. We have Sports Center anchors. Mount Rushmore of Sportscenter anchors. Would you care to do the honors first?
All right. So I want to put George Grand on here so bad.
No, me too.
Just because I love George Grand. However, I don't remember George Grand doing any Sports Center. Like, I don't remember it. Like, I don't remember.
Well, it was before we were born.
Was it?
Yeah. I think it was like 79 or something.
Oh, I thought it was like 82 or 83 or even later before. I thought it would, it would have been like 86.
Really?
Yeah, I think it was like 86
Sure.
when ESPN started.
Yeah, I thought it was like the end of the 70s. No.
When was the first year ESPN aired?
I found this on the internet.
1979.
Oh.
Good job. So Adam was right. Good job.
Thank you. But either way, George Grand was the first Sports Center anchor.
Him and Boomer.
Okay. Did they do it together? I was thinking about
I'm
that.
pretty sure they did. I think like that first thing where they basically did it all out of a trailer was him and Chris Berman, and there was somebody else. There was one other guy that would mix in with him, I think.
Al Michaels or some,
It had been somebody crazy.
Somebody
I'm
real
sure it was. But then let's go through it, right? Like, I mean, obviously, Scott Van Pelt is amazing. Scott Van Pelt's great with what he does now, where he's made the 11 o'clock Sports Center his own.
Mm-hmm.
Like the 11 o'clock Sports Center is Scott. Like it's only ever been done the way Scott Van Pelt does it.
It's the only Sports Center named after one person. It's the Scott Van Pelt Sports Center.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly. Yeah, because they had the 6 for a long time. That was a big one, right? For years, the 6 is what would be replayed for the next 4 or 5 hours until the 11 would come on, or they would have one at 9, 10, and the 11 was the one that played all night long and all morning, right?
Yeah,
I feel like that's right.
Yeah.
But the 6 was like, it was right before the primetime games came on, and they would have the players on, and they did interviews and all that stuff like that. That was huge. That was the Dan Patrick days. That was Scott still Scott Van Pelt, a young Scott Van Pelt. Mm-hmm. It was a Stuart Scott. It was Rich Eisen. Mm-hmm. Those guys.
Yep.
And I say those because I feel like they were the best of it, but there's so many others. I'm gonna have to go back to I got to pull my Sports Center list back up.
Absolutely.
So I feel like Scott Van Pelt is by far it's definitely gonna be on mine, just as I'm sitting here thinking about it. Not esports, just sports. I got to find my list back up here again. Sorry about that.
Good. I mean, you already know another guy, right? Isn't Dan Patrick is your guy?
100%. Dan Patrick. Yeah. Actually, Dan Patrick's probably number one. Yeah. Dan Patrick's. No, that's so hard for me.
It is hard.
I'm gonna have 1A and 1B.
Either way, they're both on.
Yeah.
Dan Patrick and Scott Van Pelt, 1A and 1B.
Okay. Sorry. Okay, I've got this pulled up now. Sorry about that.
Fine.
Absolutely. Scott Van Pelt, and Dan Patrick. Dan Patrick, I listen to him every single day. I think he's amazing. There's a lot of guys that just did like small stints, but they're more famous for other things. Like you've got Carl Ravitch, who became huge in baseball. Steve Levy. Steve Levy still does it. Steve Levy's still really good.
Yeah.
He started in 1993.
Wow.
That's insane, isn't it?
He doesn't look old either. I
No,
feel like
no, he doesn't. Um,
they wear makeup.
Chris Fowler is now, he's the college
football.
football guy. Greg Gumbel. Greg Gumbel was
I
part of the
forgot
original
that.
crew, 79 to 88.
Oh,
Yeah. Greg Gumbel's part of the original crew. Um, God, and then who's really good that does it right now that popped up on here, and she's actually pretty low on this list. That I really like is Sage Steele. I think she's really good.
yeah. Does she do it now? I thought she wasn't at ESPN anymore. Maybe she
I
is.
think she still is. Didn't she have a baby or something and then came back? Or am I thinking of the other girl?
I don't know.
Anyway,
She got relieved of her duties on the NBA, one of the
yes.
NBA shows, but so maybe that's what I'm thinking of.
So everybody remembers Craig Kilborn,
Mm-hmm.
right? Who ended up being more of a Daily Show he not the Daily Show, but something like that.
He had a late night talk show.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously obviously, Chris Berman,
Mm-hmm.
he's got to be up there. Berman was big. Trey Wingo,
Trey Winger.
unbelievable. Trey Wingo, 97 all the way to now. Van Pelt, 2001 to now. Keith Olbermann was amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And then you get into like the best of the best, right?
Mm-hmm.
I haven't even who else? Oh, Susie Colbert
Yeah.
was good. She did it for a short period of time. But then you get into the best of the best, and you go, here we go. Stuart Scott,
Mm-hmm.
Linda Cohn,
Mm-hmm.
Kenny Mayne, Rich Eisen, John Anderson, Dan Patrick. Dan Patrick is number one. I agree with that. I'm not putting John Anderson up there. I'm not going to do it. I like John Anderson, but he's not I wouldn't put him up there. I loved Rich Eisen. Him and Stuart Scott together might have been the best co-anchors. That might be my favorite co-anchors
I can't argue
together.
with that. Yeah.
Would be those two together. I love Dan Patrick with anybody. He was great with Stuart Scott. He was great with Eisen. He was great with Van Pelt. Whoever he was with, he was always good. But Scott and Eisen together, insane. I mean,
That's
it was
the
as
dream
good as
team.
it gets.
Yeah.
Yes.
Absolutely.
All right. So I've got two. I've got Scott Van Pelt. I've got Dan Patrick. I think I gotta go Linda Cohn.
Nice.
I think Linda Cohn is the most underrated Sports Center anchor, and she's probably in the top 5 in any list you look at. She's probably top 5, and I think she's still one of the most underrated.
I have no argument there.
Do you know Linda Cohn was a collegiate athlete? You know what she played?
No.
Hockey.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
She
I
was
would
a
not have
hockey
guessed
player.
that.
I know. I know. How crazy is that? Linda Cohn, and I don't know if it shows it on here or not. Yeah, here you go. Cohn grew up on Long Island, but smartly became a Rangers fan. There you go. Yeah, doesn't say anything else about her. So that gives me one more. I got to put it between Chris Berman,
Yep.
Kenny Mayne, Stuart Scott. I'm taking Keith Olbermann out. All right. I think, in the end, the guy who changed Sports Center, like Dan Patrick kind of perfected it, but the guy who changed it was Stuart Scott.
Yeah.
I'm going to go
Yeah.
Stuart Scott.
Everybody kind of had the little funny sayings and stuff, but his were like
Next
the
level.
most, yeah, like he had maybe the most, or his were just the most recognizable.
Mhm.
Everybody knew him. It was it made you, it was a big part of watching Sports Center. You wanted to see what was going on in sports, but those guys back in that day they were so good at it with making it kind of funny and
Mhm.
making it cool, and yes, and Stuart Scott was the top of the
Absolutely.
food chain on that.
Absolutely.
So I'll start with Stuart Scott.
Perfect. There you go.
Stuart Scott, I got to put Dan Patrick on there. I am going to go Scott Van Pelt.
So we're 3 for 3.
And the guy that I'm going with for my other one,
Who did I forget?
that you didn't forget anybody, you mentioned him, But the guy who I think was the funniest,
You're going Keith Olbermann.
no,
No?
I
Kenny Mayne?
yes,
Yeah.
Kenny Mayne.
Kenny Mayne, Olbermann and Mayne were phenomenal. They're just hilarious.
I feel like Kenny Mayne, he would
Kenny
anchor
Mayne
Sports
did
Center.
it on purpose. He
Yeah.
those the little outlet, not outlets, what do you call them? The little one-offs that he would do where it would be Kenny Mayne and he's on campus somewhere
Yes,
running around
that's
being
exactly
a
what I was going
goofball.
to say.
Yeah.
Yes. They were basically comedy pieces. Like,
Yes.
they were comedy packages that were about sports. And that's my favorite. So yeah. So we're really we have almost the same thing, but
And I would put Kenny, and like I said, Kenny Mayne is on that list of where it's hard for me to figure out where to go next.
yeah. Yep, and Linda Cohn's way up there for me. So
Yeah.
yeah, I think everybody else. I mean, I got you mentioned John Anderson, some of the kind of the guys that have been around a long time now, but are still doing it. Like Jay Harris, I think is good.
Jay Harris
Stan,
is really good.
Stan Barrett's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just they're. I think you mentioned everybody else that I had written down here. Charlie Steiner. Did you say him?
No, I didn't. I didn't mention him, but Charlie Steiner was a good one too.
Anyway, yeah, there we go. There it is. Now,
I think that was well done. I think that was a good one.
thank you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think you did really
It
good.
was fun. Okay, Fortune Feimster.
Yes.
Fortune Feimster,
Glow-
crushing it.
Oh, I was gonna say, is it glow up? What is it called? Crushing
Crushing it, yeah.
Crushing it.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, great job on her, because turns out that crushing it wasn't all about her crushing it in the world. It had other meanings to it, which is funny.
Yep. Please.
I started with the other one. You go with this.
Okay.
I haven't watched this for a week and a half because we missed
I know,
last week.
it's-
It's
yeah,
been a
yeah,
little
yeah.
while. So
It's been a while.
I'm gonna have to memory bank myself here.
Sure. I only wrote down one joke or whatever, but it was, I know generally it was good. It was like it was kind of a lot. We have these all the time, I feel like, but it was like a lot of stuff where you're like, oh, okay, all right, but you're not like, it doesn't make you.
Sure, you're smiling.
laugh.
You get it. It was a
Yeah.
good joke. You say, yeah, it was a good joke.
Yeah.
But you're not laughing out loud. A lot of times I got to be a little surprised by the punchline, right? And
Yeah.
she doesn't surprise you too much on punchlines. Her punchlines are pretty
That's a good way to say it.
same things over. They're good, and it's still a funny joke, but it's a lot of the same things over and over again.
Yeah.
And is it weird, or does it feel like I felt like I heard these jokes before?
Oh.
The biscuits and going and driving the car and it.
Oh. Well, that was
I've
a
heard-
reference to a big joke from her last special, I think.
Yeah. Okay. So she did that joke again, right? I feel like that was the same exact joke.
Oh. I don't.
She just told the story all over again.
Okay. I think she was saying something else that led into biscuits, and then she.
I
it
thought
must have gotten
she
such a-
was talking about she was at home and then her mom told her, this is why I keep the car running. I keep running. And then I got in the car and I went to go get my biscuits. And when I went to get my biscuits, the line was long and they said, you got till now and I can't go park my car. You got to be in here. So it was word for word a joke I had heard on a previous special, I feel.
Oh, my memory is not good.
And
enough
then the
for-
car rolled off the edge, boom, but I got my biscuits.
Yeah, that doesn't. Yeah, it just doesn't really do a lot for me when I don't know. But anyway,
I get it. You know, one thing that I always do talk about though, so it's hard for me to get kind of on her. Number one, it's easy if you just told the exact same joke you told in another special. I felt like I've already heard that entire joke.
it had to be different because she wouldn't tell the same joke on the next special. It had to be a little different.
I heard that joke somewhere. I know I did. Anyway, but it's hard for me to be like, and I get, oh, my biscuits. But at the same time, I always am like, dude, don't get too big and not be self-deprecating. Don't not be able to make fun of yourself. And she definitely still is able to make fun of herself, that's my favorite part of any comedian, to be able to laugh at yourself and not take yourself too seriously, no matter how big you get. That's what I love about comedy.
I was thinking about you because toward the end of it, she mentioned that she and her wife bought a house.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this is where it could go south, where she talks about all these crazy amenities the house has, and
Yeah.
where she talks about, all these, expensive things that she has. And I'm like, Chris is gonna hate this part. But she didn't do that.
She did not.
She just mentioned the
Yep.
house and just went into something else. But so that
It's about fighting, couples fighting and stuff like that.
Which
right? Which
everybody can
boom,
relate
it's
to.
it's a relatable topic
Yeah.
that everybody does.
Right. Yeah.
So good on her. Good on her.
Yep.
Cause she had the opportunity to go Michelle, what's her name?
Michelle Buteau.
Buteau. She had an opportunity to go her or who's
Tiffany
the other?
Haddish.
Tiffany Haddish. Oh my God. Good night. Yeah, she had the opportunity to go there and did not. But and I don't mean just those two. They just might be the
tons.
two that were the biggest ones.
Yeah.
Because there's plenty that have done it.
Absolutely. The only thing I wrote down was found out it is illegal to be gay in the Maldives on the way to the
To the Maldives. I did think that was
for her honeymoon.
that was so good. Their one picture they have is them with a couple in between them.
Yeah. Yeah. She wouldn't let her wife take pictures. Her wife wouldn't let her or something like that. They didn't want to get in trouble.
It's a girls' trip.
Yeah. This is my cousin.
And they had it. Where was their stop? Like Iran or something, where it's even worse to be at.
Yeah, something like that. I gave this a 3.
3. Okay. 3.0.
Yeah,
I didn't think we were
3.0.
allowed doing that, but okay. I didn't think we could do whole numbers. I thought it had to be.
No, we've done whole numbers.
Yeah.
You're right, but that's why I made up for it with the 9.64.
9.641 on okay. All right, then that's all good there. So then I will go.
Not allowed to do this.
No,
That's very funny.
I'm right there with you. I think I'm gonna go 3.2.
Okay.
I mean, we always say if it's over 3, I definitely suggest watching it. It's good. It's a good special for sure.
Yeah. Yep. Okay. Last order of business. Mount Rushmore for next week and comedy for next week.
All right.
And so I have comedy, and I'm going to choose a Netflix special that came out last week. That is the first a big comedian who is probably, for like younger people, probably more known as an actor than a comedian, but started in stand up and was on In Living Color, on a sketch show, and has done tons of amazing acting work, and is still really funny and maybe the most talented person in show business because he can sing
I love
like a
this.
professional.
Yes.
He can act as well as anybody, and he's as funny as anybody. And as a matter of fact, one of my favorite moments of Cars, Coffee, Seinfeld,
Yes.
riding in cars, drinking coffee, or
Whatever
I forget what it's called.
Yeah.
Was the Jamie Foxx episode when they were in the coffee shop and he was doing the impression of Dave Chappelle.
So good.
He's like, Dave uses these big words. He's like, something. It's chartreuse. Anyway, he's he's really good at impressions. He can do just about anything. And so he has a new special out, comedy special out. What had happened was, which hopefully shed some light on this mystery illness. Okay.
So I have heard what it was. Did you? I mean, apparently. So I just heard. I was. Do I say anything or do I let it ride?
So I've heard
it's out there. So dude had a stroke, and apparently he was close to death.
Yes,
like very close to death.
I heard that, but I also heard that P. Diddy poisoned him because he was going to tell on him.
Well, I believe what he said. I believe what he says on his special is that he was close to death on with a stroke.
Whether he's telling the truth or not, well, that's up to you to decide, I guess. Yes. So anyway, Jamie Foxx, what had happened was on Netflix. Make it your take a break from watching Christmas movies. By the way, this is our Christmas episode, I think, because we may not be able to do one next
You don't want to do a Christmas Day?
I would absolutely do a Christmas Day episode. You're the
I'm
one
gonna
that will
tell you
not be
this.
able to do.
I
You
can't
got
do Christmas
18
Eve,
Yeah, you
and I
got.
can't do Christmas Day. We could do Christmas Eve, but I'm gonna be here, and it's gonna have been a long day.
I could do Monday.
I will still have people here in my house
Yeah,
on
yeah.
Christmas Eve when
Not
you
gonna
come
do it.
over at 10:30.
We're doing our immediate family, I think, on Christmas Eve. What about Monday? Do you want to do a Monday? That's a
Uh,
tough day for you, probably.
I don't think so. I don't think I have much going on Monday. Might actually, you know what? Maybe not because we're a little behind on the Christmas movie list because Thanksgiving was a little late. I think it might be. I think it might be best to make that
We're on Christmas
some
vacation next
Christmas
week.
vacation. But I'm 100% in for either New Year's Day or the day after or the Monday before. I don't care.
Yeah.
New Year's Eve obviously is probably not going to happen on a Tuesday.
Right.
But
I'll be at the well.
oh,
I
that's
got a
right.
Pacers
Yeah,
game.
you got it.
But that's in the afternoon anyway. But anyway, okay. So we will be back not next week, but the week after New Year's week. But before we get there, we're gonna have the Mount Rushmore of.
We are going to have a Mount Rushmore. I think that we should move into the Mount Rushmore. We've done high school, we've done college coaches, we've done NBA coaches, we've done so much. And with the Sean Miller show, I just thought that let's do.
I like where your head's at.
Let's do a Mount Rushmore. I mean, I don't know. I can't say coaches podcast because I don't listen to any. So I can't.
I've been wanting to do the Mount Rushmore podcast for 4 years
I bet
now.
you have.
and
We can do it.
No,
We can do it.
No.
We can do it for sure. I'm just gonna be like, I don't know, Rogan,
Yeah.
Nosebleeds. Are there any other podcasts out there? I don't
The Dan
know.
Patrick Show probably comes out as a
It does come out
podcast.
as a podcast. Yeah, the Dan Patrick Show podcast. And if that's the case, then I'm probably going with the Dan Lebitard podcast.
There you go. Oh, he's got some good ones too.
Good night.
He has comedians on a lot. I like-
Dan
well, so does Dan Patrick.
Lebitard is
And so does Rich Eisen.
Dan Lebitard's funny.
Yes.
Oh, Rich Eisen's got an awesome show too, but it's no longer. It's on right after Dan Patrick, but it's not on in Cincinnati anymore.
Oh, they cut it, huh?
Yeah, they put on what's Dingleheimer's name? Colin Cowherd.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
I got you.
Anyway, so
Colin Dingleheimer Cowherd.
old Dingleheimer. I'm gonna go.
Sports talk radio shows.
Jesus, you're killing me there, bro. Like all time?
Yeah, the two angry guys.
Oh my god, dude! When we
Mike, of course.
when we first started having jobs, like out of high school, and like we had to go get a job, the two angry guys were the guy they were on. That was it, and you listen to the two angry guys in the morning, and then Mike and Mike came into Cincinnati. And just blew. That's 20 years of Mike and Mike.
Yeah.
And that morning show for ESPN, when that canceled, has never been the same.
I know they changed it so many times. They can't
figure it out. At one point in time, I did like so they had Jay Will and Keyshawn Johnson on, and I can't remember the other guy's name. He was an Indian fella.
Oh yeah, Zubin. Yeah.
That's his name, Zubin. Mahenti?
Mahenti?
Yeah.
I think so, yeah.
And I love that. And then Mahenti got real sick. Something bad happened to him, and he left the show. And they could never find an anchor to come back. And Mahenti does some stuff now still for ESPN.
Yep.
But it's never been the same. And that was pretty good. I liked that. Keyshawn was good. Him and Jay were really good together. And I love Jay Will because he speaks his mind and he does not care if it hurts his Duke fan base or who. He doesn't care. Some of it's crazy.
Yeah.
100% it's crazy, but I mean, but speak your mind, right? You don't have to be politically correct all the time. If that's how you feel, it's how you feel. However, that was a great time in morning radio. And now I gotta wait till now, like it's so bad in the morning. Like Brady Quinn and
Yeah.
LeVar Arrington, two pros and a cup of Joe.
That's right.
And it's like, oh my God. Like
They're a little bit more. I kind of like their show because
it's
they're like looser.
they
It's
are.
not an ESPN show, so
I don't feel like they're in studio together. I feel like
Oh,
all three of
really?
them are in a different place. Like the way that it
Oh,
sounds, I feel like they're all in a different place. I could be totally
I like
wrong.
LeVar Arrington a lot too.
Oh, LeVar's good. LeVar's good. And LeVar cuts up with him. And LeVar's great because they'll be like, all right, now we're gonna go to our locks of the week or whatever. And he's like, oh, so who's playing that 4 o'clock game against the Lions? Yeah, that's the game I want to take. I want that one. And it's like
The Charles Barkley.
exactly. I love it. Not as bad as Charles, but yes. I mean, nobody's Charles. Not good. LeVar, I am not putting you there, but don't get me wrong. I love Charles. This is just only one.
Yeah.
And Brady Quinn's very, who he is.
Yeah.
And I like Brady Quinn too. I
Yeah,
do
me
like that. I do like it. Because they talk about drinking constantly. They make fun of one of the producers for always being drunk.
Yeah.
And anyway, besides the point, it's just morning's not that good. I gotta wait till 9 a.m. to get DP.
Jeez.
It's like, dude, come on, man. I
That's
gotta
like
wait all the way
basically the
till
end of the
9.
day. I mean,
It's like 2 hours after I start. I'm like, oh my God, when is Dan Patrick gonna get on? Seriously, if you've never listened to Dan Patrick show, it's so good.
it's a good show.
It's so good.
Yeah.
He's done. He's only got 3 years left.
Oh, he's got an out.
Yeah. It started. It was 4 years. It's like 6 months ago. I think it was. He came out and he said 4 years. That's it. We're done.
Wow. How old is he?
He's in 60 something. Yeah.
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 Hey Siri, how old is Dan Patrick?
So
67.
67 years old.
Holy cow! He looks amazing.
He's gonna be in his 70s, still getting movie roles in Adam Sandler
Yep.
movies.
He
and
just
everything.
did it. Just went and did his.
Oh, Happy Gilmore too.
Yep. He did his
Wow.
Happy Gilmore 2 taping last week.
Good.
He got it in one day. He's wearing a mustache again. Apparently Sandler gets a big kick out of putting a mustache on him, so he's got a mustache, which is awesome. All right, so let's get back on track here.
Yes.
We've already done Adam Sandler movies,
Yeah.
and I would say Dan Patrick movies, but they're all Adam Sandler movies. Have we done Will Ferrell movies? I feel like we have.
we had to have. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, I got one. We'll stick with the movies.
Okay.
I don't know how much. Are you a movie guy at all? Because I'm not.
No.
Okay. You watch very many Ryan Reynolds movies?
I don't know that I've ever seen a Ryan Reynolds movie. I'm not sure.
I need you just got to watch Waiting.
Waiting.
First off,
Okay.
Ryan Reynolds is
Sounds-
one of the funniest human
Sounds
beings.
romantic.
It's not romantic in
Okay.
any way, shape, or form. It's
I know he's funny. He's a funny.
it's crazy. It is not romantic at all. But it's typical Ryan Reynolds stupid sarcasm. I like him. Besides the fact that he's drop dead gorgeous,
Yeah.
he's also incredibly funny.
It's funny.
All right, so let's get off the movies.
I thought you were locking that in.
No, I'm not wrong. You've never seen any.
I know. I'm sorry.
No, don't be sorry. I haven't seen many either. I think I've seen about 5. So it's been easy for me. It would have been easy. Let's.
Magic Mike 1, Magic Mike 2.
Is he in the Magic Mikes?
I have no idea.
I don't think so. No, that's Matthew McConaughey.
No, that's what's his face?
Yeah, Matthew McConaughey.
Square-jawed, no, the other guy.
What?
Yeah.
Matthew
Another-
McConaughey is the guy. Oh no, you're talking about the guy who plays Mike. No,
yeah.
Mike is the actual Magic Mike. That's Channing Tatum.
Channing Tatum.
But
That's who I was
yeah, so I've seen Magic Mike. But so Matthew McConaughey is like the boss of the strip club. He's like old school. He's like old school ripped up, right? He's like the dude's been there for 40 years. You know what I mean? He runs the club but still gets on stage. You know what I mean?
Oh.
That's McConaughey. God, he's another good guy, dude. McConaughey cracks me up too. But McConaughey does it without trying to be funny, I think. I think he's trying to be serious and everybody laughs
Yeah.
at him. All right, all right, all right.
One of my favorite. We're just gonna keep talking until 3 in the morning, but one of
It's
my
my fault.
no, it's not. It's my fault.
No, it's my fault because I can't think of a Mount Rushmore. So I keep talking about whatever I can to.
But you're thinking about it while I'm saying this. One of my favorite Between Two Ferns with Zach Galifianakis was the Matthew McConaughey one because he said you did a movie with he's said this to Matthew McConaughey. You did a movie with Woody Harrelson and somebody else. Um, were you sad when you were doing that movie? Were you sad because you knew somewhere Sack was not being hacked?
So is that Between Two Ferns? Is that where he does the interviews?
Yeah,
The Jennifer Lawrence one might be the funniest thing I've ever
that was a
seen.
really funny one too.
She
Do the
was
Mount
awesome
Rushmore
at
of
that.
Between Two Ferns episodes.
How long are they? Because
They're
I'm gonna
short.
have to watch a lot of them.
Yeah. Okay. Well,
That's
I mean,
okay.
they're pretty short.
I got a
But
long day tomorrow. I'm driving to West Virginia, and then the next day
you
I'm
get a
driving
lot of
home.
them in. You could even do it by clips, even probably just. You don't have to see the Ben Stiller one was so. Oh my God, his email, his email address. he he was like saying to Ben Stiller, Ben Stiller was like shooting a movie or something. He's like, can you like? In Zach was like trying to push his way into a movie
Yeah.
role or something. He's like, here, I'm gonna write my. He's like, and don't be off put by this. And he writes his. He writes his email address down and rips it off and hands it to Ben Stiller, and Ben Stiller reads it out loud. And I'm not going to say what it is out
Okay.
loud. I want you to see.
Okay,
it.
okay.
It's maybe the hardest I laughed at.
All right, best Between Two Ferns interviews it is. And I'm taking this as my own, even though you
you
came
sure?
up with it. I'm
Yeah,
taking
no,
it.
Okay.
Jimmy Fox. Jimmy Fox. I just said Jimmy Fox.
Jimmy Fox. He was a
Jimmy
great
Fox.
baseball player.
Guy was unbelievable. Guy was unbelievable. First ballot Hall of Famer. I think he was in the second. Was he in the first? No, he wasn't part of the first.
I don't remember.
I don't think he was
remember
part of the first. It was Cobb, Ruth, Mathewson, Hornsby, Young. I think that's it. I think those were the five. Ruth, Hornsby, Cobb, Mathewson, Cy Young. Is there somebody else? I think that's the original.
Carlos
I thought it was
Beltran.
the original six, but maybe it's the original five. Anyway, sorry.
We're gonna find out soon who this year's. Well, we already know Dave. By the way, Dave Parker.
Yeah.
Shout out to the Cobra.
Congratulations.
Getting into the Hall of Fame, and
That's
then
awesome. He deserves it too.
yeah.
This guy was unbelievable.
Yep. And then we'll find out in January who else is getting in.
Yeah.
From the current ballot.
Man, we used to do some big stuff on this podcast for that.
I know.
We used to like get into how many votes and how many years and what they've done and talk about resumes and stuff like blind resume reads.
Yeah.
Boy, we've come so far.
Yeah.
We were sports dorks.
Yeah. Yeah. We still are.
We
Just-
still
we're
are.
just a little older.
Yeah, just a little older. All right, so next week we've got first off, big thanks to Adam. If anybody's still listening to this, Adam Baum, thank you so much. So gracious with his time. We've got another 42 minutes after he got off. So gracious with his time. Thank you very much. We've got Jamie Foxx next week. His special is on Netflix. We'll do that, and then we've got the Mount Rushmore of Between Two Ferns interviews. Until then, don't forget to turn your headlights on.